Hello and welcome back to Wargaming with me, Garry. Let's take these off for a minute. That's better. So today, what I'm going to do is I've done a tester figure. This is carrying on from the shields, and I'll go into that a bit in a minute, and also what my plans for that is and how it's going to be different from what I originally wanted to do or felt like using these figures for. But first off, what I'd like to do, I'd like to read. I'm going to use my new Hollywood voice. See what it sounds like. But it's from this book that I've been reading through, the Kings of War. What's it say? It's the Game of Fantasy Battles. And there's some really nice stuff in here. There really is. And I think I've looked at this before, just very briefly. But I thought what I'd do is go through pretty much all of the literature. So if Kings of War are out there and they don't want me to do that, just tell me, yeah? Don't report me, just tell me and I'll stop doing it. But it sounds great, so I just thought I would do it. I'll also go through. My plan is to really go into this. I want to look at the maps and everything, and that relates to what my plan is with the tester figure I'm going to show you today. But anyway, let me just read you this with my new Hollywood voice. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll bring this down just a little bit because I don't think there's anything worse than just listening and watching somebody read. Now, so at least you got a picture of that. Once the world was in balance. That time is no more. It is an age recorded only in dusty scrolls or on the monuments of drowned cities. It is little more than a legend, for those who live in Mantica today remember little but war. There are perhaps some who remember better days, those half-gods or near immortals gifted in sorcery. But if so, they hold their silence. Aye. That's my Hollywood voice. But I read this and I just thought it was a really nice intro to a video. So what I thought I might do is when I'm concentrating on my fantasy figures, which this is kind of going to turn into, I thought I might read a bit from it, just to kind of set the scene. I don't know. That's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. And I'll show you something on the map. If I can just find where the map is. I should have had this ready, shouldn't I, really? But, it's backwards. So this is the map of Mantica. And then, as you can see, it's complete fantasy. But it's a massive. This is like the world, yeah. So this picture here, whenever I look at maps of fantasy, they always look a bit crunched in. But then what you got to remember is you're looking at a very small. It's been condensed down, and that these areas are actually much larger. So I'm going to be using this book and that map to do kind of like an alternative world of what's going on at the moment, but with a link into the figures that I enjoy painting, which are like Greek hoplites and crusaders and all that type of stuff. So linking that in with the Mantica world. So that'll be orcs, goblins. I say orcs and goblins because at the front, because they're my favourites, and dwarves, elves, that type of thing. So let's get on with the actual video, and I'll show you the tester figure that I'm working on at the moment. So this is from Black Tree Miniatures. Let me get that. I think that's about as close as that's going to get now, without losing too much. Have I got one with good eyes? Let's have that. Try and get those fingers out of the way. Now what you can see is when I originally started, right, so when I originally started painting these figures, or this figure, you can see the shield. I think the shield really has worked out well. And it really, I'm very pleased with it. I've got some really nice comments about the shield painting, and this is freehand, so it's not professionally done. It's just that big bloke Garry doing what he likes to do, bits of painting. But what I decided to do was, originally I was going to use this as the Astomani, which is like the Greek, the Athenian police, the state police, which I have explained a bit earlier on in another video. I think it was last video. Let me get it out of my face a bit. So yeah, I was going to originally use it for that, but on hindsight is the word I was looking for. In hindsight, I don't think these figures, for me, I don't think they look classical enough. So they're not, I like the long plumes and like the breastplates and all the rest of it, and the covered shields. I find them really classical, and they're on the vases and on the inscriptions. That's usually how you see it, even when they're talking about, even when ancient Greek philosophers and historians are talking about the Trojan Wars, for example. That's how they picture their fighting men, with those types of shields and helmets, not with this kind of helmet. But I also thought it's a really, really nice figure, so I didn't want to lose it, especially since I got quite a crowd of them. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 15, 16 to finish, 16 including this one. And then I thought, you know what? These would look really good on a fantasy, in a fantasy war game, and they could fight anybody, whether it be crusaders, goblins, the dwarves. They could fight anybody. Border wars going on all the time. So that's what I've decided to do. Now, I know I mentioned also doing a Trojan War, which I will still do, but the Trojan War will be more. The Trojan War, theoretically, there is some historical basis to the Trojan War. I mean, there's lots of opinions, and there's lots of critical judgments on other people's opinions, but theoretically, the long and short of it is people generally agree that there was some type of Trojan War of some sort, whether you believe it was 10 years or 1 year, or whether you believe it was in Turkey. There's even now some research which puts it in the northern continents, like some more northern European continents. So so I accept there are difference of opinions, and that things might not be how Homer wrote them. But what I would say is, I think the general consensus is that people do agree, historians do agree, that there was some form of Trojan War. Having said I'm not going to use I'm not going to use these for that theatre, because these are, the way I've done them, I think they really blend into being fantasy for me. So I've done them. I'm going to do them very uniformed. The shields you've already seen will be uniformed. The plumes will all be black. Originally I was going to paint these for the Athenian army. That's why I've done blue, light blue. I'm keeping the light blue because I think it works well with the rest of the figures, and I've done a reddy brown for the leather. And that is going to be like a kind of uniform. I'm also going to use the name Astomani, so that it will be the Astomani regiments. So they will be like the city regiments for these figures, which I will go into a little bit. yeah, so that's how I'm not. So these won't be used in my historical wars, but I am doing an awful lot of Athenian Black Tree figures for what I've decided to do is for the first Persian Peloponnesian War. So that's that. So there I am. I've done an awful lot of gassing for about 10 minutes. Let me just quickly run through, make sure I've got everything I need before I go. So I've told you I'm going to use the troops. I told you about the fantasy side, so they will be fantasy. I've told you about using Mantica, the Kings of War, and the book and the map, how I'm going to use that. And I'm really going to develop that fantasy. I find it really quite exciting, the thought of doing that. Combining the figures, I think, is a really, really good way. And what I want to do is, and I've said this, what I want to do is combine organic, or no, not organic. Oh, the word's gone. But I use, say, for the northern parts of the Mantica world, use Vikings for that. Oh, yeah, no, I thought I had the word in. So and then link that, maybe for the areas where there's a place here called the Great Plains of the Mammoth Steppe. And I thought that would be brilliant for Cossacks and Polish, the Cossacks fighting each other and orcs and goblins, that sort of thing. Really sort of set up. These guys are going to be in the flatlands of the Helpy Mountains, Helpy Mountains, or the Halpy Mountains. And I thought I'd do that because you could really, because of the mountains, Mount Olympus for the gods, so I thought that would really work quite well. But also you can throw into that the dwarves. So you see how linking them all up. So the things I really enjoy, history with fantasy, which I also enjoy. What else have I got? So I've done that part. Now what I would say is these figures come from Black Tree Designs. So I'm a little bit dependent on Vaughan and John, who are the guys who I've had some dealings with from that company. Now I love Black Tree Designs, I love their figures. But I do know that John is in the process of tinkering with the whole, with their range, with their catalogue. And what they've actually done is they've taken out, they've completely, for the moment, I haven't looked this morning, but as of yesterday, they've taken out, so this is up to date, as of yesterday, so they took out all their ancient range, so that's all of the Greeks, the Assyrians, the Egyptians. They've taken all of the ancients out, and they're rejigging it, and I think they're going to add some bits and pieces in there. Hopefully they're going to put some Assyrian chariots and things like that in there. But that's that's great, but it does make it difficult, Vaughan, John, for me to do my collection. So if there is a way that if I could still order these figures, even though you're not advertising them at the moment, that would be really helpful. So these ones particularly, I can't remember the name of them, but they were the Athenian Hoplites. So yeah, so if we could do that, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because it does. I mean, and everybody who watches my channel knows I did some Renegade figures as well, American Civil War and English Civil War, and we are very dependent on the people who supply the figures. So that's quite a thing going on there. Anyway, Vaughan, John, I hope everything's going well, but please do pull your finger out. I really want to get on with these figures. Where am I? Last thing. Yeah. So that's my tester for the army I'm going to do. This is for me. This is a massively long video. But hopefully, I know, because I like to paint figures whilst I'm listening to long videos. So hopefully you guys have like seen the size of it, 15 minutes or so, and you've gone, yeah, all right, let's do that. So that's my plan. Fantasy, use Mantica for that. Don't use the Trojan Wars. Don't use historic. I won't use them as historical figures. And put out a begging message. Let me just show you the stand there. Put out a begging message to Black Tree Designs. Please get on with the ancient figure catalogue. Okay, I need your countrymen need you. All right, okay. All the very best, everybody. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Look after yourselves. Bye bye.